Hey, hey, what do you say? We are on 3.3, Organization and Presentation, Criterion C. The learning objective is students will be able to add an opening, ending, and transitions to their higher level essay. The question you're asking right now is, how do I organize and present my higher level essay? Last lesson we talked about how to integrate quotes, which is a half of Criterion C. The other half of Criterion C is organization and presentation. So let's get some SpongeBob motivation and prepare to write this essay. Or maybe this is more motivating for you. Oh, it's a little Shakespeare cat. All right, let's talk rubric again. So Criterion C is where we're at. Focus, organization, and development. Focus, organization, and development. We talked about integrating quotes first, and now I'm talking about this other part, the blue part. How well organized, focused, and developed is the presentation of ideas in the essay? You're going to get 5 marks for Criterion C for both organization, focus, and development, and integrating quotes. Let's take a look at what you need in order to get a 5 as far as organization and development. The essay effectively organized is effectively organized and cohesive. The line of inquiry is well developed. All right. So when we're thinking about Criterion C, we have to think about staying focused on that line of inquiry and digging deep, really thinking it through and not just slapping some words on the page, okay? For a 4, well-organized, mostly cohesive, the line of inquiry is adequately developed. 3 is generally cohesive, some development of the line of inquiry. 2, some organization, little development. And then we don't even want to talk about under 2. All right, so let's take a look at some tips here to help you to score high on Criterion C. First of all, when you think about your introduction, think of it as an upside down pyramid, where you start with the most, the information that is, that applies, how do I say this? The information that everyone might understand. Any reader who takes a look at your essay is going to understand. And then you get more specific and you look at the background information that is required in order to fully understand your essay. In this essay, it might be talking about that central concept from IB. It's certainly going to be about discussing the line of inquiry and talking about the background information about the text and the writer. And then we end the introduction with that central assertion or thesis. All right, that is the point, the main point. And it's the most specific part of that paragraph. So you start with the stuff that anybody might find interesting, and then you kind of hone in and get more and more specific to your point. All right, so some key tips. First of all, start with a creative hook that relates directly to your thesis. Don't get too cutesy. IB examiners don't appreciate it. So not at so much creative as related directly to your thesis. Keep it short. And in between the hook and thesis statement, that's where you include that general background information connecting the two together. One idea is reflecting on the central concept from your line of inquiry. So I can, there will be a link in Schoology that discusses these central concepts some more. And you can take a look again at Essay A, which does do this. I've got the sample opening from Essay A coming up. Key tips for good opening. Here's what you want to avoid. Please do not ask a rhetorical question. It ends up sounding like reading Rainbow. Have you ever wondered what it's like to lose 5 people close to you in 4 years. No, it's not effective. A lengthy philosophical reflection, not needed. They don't want to hear so much about what you think about life, but rather what the author has shown they think about life. And anything too informal. Never, directly talk about the reader like, hey, reader, hey, examiner, what's up? I'm writing to you now about. That is too informal. So avoid those things, please. Here's the sample intro from Essay A. You can see that their opening is very focused already on the essay. In fact, it almost reads like a mini introduction, and then we've got it sort of expanded on in the rest of it. So read this if you want to as a sample. You can pause the video and do that now. Here's a sample opening introduction from the Coop. This is a student who wrote about Frederick Douglass, and they have a great hook attention getter with slavery in the 17th and 18th centuries in the United States was a dark era. Then Frederick Douglass sheds insight into the horrors of slavery anecdotally through his book Narrative of the Life of Frederick Douglass, where he takes complete authorial control through writing his own perspective and voice. Through the story, he transitions from an illiterate slave to eventually becoming a free man and hero. One of the most important authorial choices that he uses is introspective analysis, in which he reflects upon his own thoughts and feelings in a strong manner that's only possible because of his complete authorial control. So we have the hook, then we have some background information about the text, and now we have the thesis statement, and I'll let you read that on your own. Pause now if you want to do so. All right, key tips for a good ending. For your ending, it is the pyramid right side up. You start with that thesis central assertion, you sum up your argument, and then you leave the reader with something to talk about. And just like this video, the conclusion should be the fastest part about your essay. Keep it short. You can sum up your argument in just a sentence or two. And when you leave the reader with something interesting, just make sure it's about the text, okay? It's related to the central assertion directly. Keep it under 100 words. The conclusion can be 50 words and still be amazing. I think a 50-word conclusion is perfect. I love it. Here's a sample. This is from Essay A. Pause now to read this sample conclusion. So you can see that conclusion is very short. I think it's a total of, let's see, what is it, 93 words. So they kept it under 100 words. And it does follow the thesis statement first, then it sums up the argument, and then leading to this, interesting topic that is really sort of another way of saying what they've already said. But, xenophobia is interesting, commercial domination, institutionalized racism. These are interesting things that they don't directly expand on. So it's leaving the reader with something else to think about. Okay, transitions. Here's some key tips for transitions. The best are full sentences that connect the current idea to the next idea, rather than just using one word or a short phrase. They should feel natural, not forced. At first, you can't even tell that they're transitions because they are seamless. You can't find where they are stitched together. They're flowing so well. Here's a sample from a student sample from last year on Men We Reaped. They do a character analysis on the 5 men who died. The third character who dies is introduced as one of Ward's many cousins, and he goes by CJ. Like the previous deaths, the scene creates a vivid scene using the same techniques with different details. So it's more than just one word. It's more than just. The third example is, we do have the third mention, and in Men We Reap, that's very appropriate because there are 5 men who die, and each has their own chapter. But it's more than just the mention of third. It's to go on to like the previous deaths, and then we hear more about the connection. So a full sentence is used here. What else can I do to cohesively organize my essay and be sure my line of inquiry is well developed? Well, I'm so glad you asked. Here are some tips. Reread each paragraph, asking yourself, how does this paragraph answer the line of inquiry? Write a concluding sentence for each paragraph that connects directly back to your thesis statement. Go back to your notes and the book and do some more digging. You know, most of us have to reread at least parts of the book in order to write this kind of essay at this level of depth and sophistication. It's not like you can just read it once and then write this amazing literary analysis. So take some time in order to be able to develop your ideas. Have someone else read your essay looking for your line of inquiry and ask you questions about the topic as they arise. As they're asking you questions, you can see what the examiner might be thinking. You can find other things that you might want to explore yourself and add to your essay. Read, reread, and reread some more. The best essays are written by tireless revisers. Also, the top 2 scoring essays from last year's students are in Schoology. Oops, it says week 14. It is not week 14. 17, I believe, is the week it's in. And you should check those out. You'll notice that they didn't get 5s on anything. So once again, the examiners are pretty tough. In fact, neither got all 4s. So keep that in mind as we're working on our essays. But those are really good examples to look at, and they are both on Men We Read. And please ask me for hope. Hope. Help when you need it. I'll give you hope too. You can ask for hope as well. So good luck. Mastery Check 3 is the last paper mastery check for this unit. And use the sample Cooper essays in this slideshow as resources where you can find everything you want about organization and presentation. And it's week 17. Sorry about that typo.